This is Michael Orrell of MobileBurn.com, and today we have the Samsung SCHI 770, a device that Verizon Wireless is marketing as the Saga. The Saga is a Windows Mobile 6.1 professional powered device. It features the ability to roam just about anywhere in the world thanks to quad-band GSM Edge coverage, in addition to the CDMA coverage that works for Verizon's network. You can see it's fairly slim design. It's laid out very similarly to a Blackjack 2, except that it has a 320 by 320 pixel touchscreen display, just like the Epix does on AT&T. Similar to the Epix, it also has an optical joystick, which we'll show you a little bit later. Unlike the Epix, though, the keys are larger and more laid out like the original Blackjack 2, which works quite well. Rather thin device, simple, soft touch paint on the back. Camera with self-portrait mirror, no flash though. Also located on the back is the telescoping stylus. It's a little thin, but it's sufficiently long. On the top of the device we have the power button and the headset jack. Flip that open. You can see that it's only a 2.5mm headset jack though, so it doesn't support regular stereo headphones. On the right hand side we have a dedicated camera button, a little reset button here that you use a pen with, and then the Samsung power connector. No micro USB or anything like that quite yet for Samsung. Nothing on the bottom. The left edge we have volume control and a dedicated lock button. This lock button turns out to be quite important on the phone for a reason I'll show you in a little bit. If you take the back off of the Saga, something that's not all that easy to do, you can see that there is a SIM card slot right here, because in addition to working on CDMA networks here in the US, it also supports quad-band GSM and Edge connections. Underneath the SIM card slot is the micro SD card slot. You don't have to remove the battery to swap it out, but you do have to remove the back of the phone in order to change micro SD cards. When we power up the Saga, you can see the Windows Mobile Today screen. And we're going to show you how the optical joystick works. You can see as I move left and right on the joystick, just by sliding my thumb over it, basically you can think of it as an upside down optical mouse. You can navigate that way. Now as I mentioned, there's more to it than that though, thanks to this lock button. If I just quickly press the lock button, it doesn't actually lock or unlock the phone, it switches modes. So now we're in mouse pointer mode, which is pretty useful for a lot of different functions, especially web browsing. You know, we've seen this type of functionality on the Epix and the Omnia and other devices like that, but it was never been easy to switch modes. Now just with a quick press of the lock button from anywhere in the phone, you can switch modes. Pull up the start menu here. You can see there's decent amount of control over it. There's no wild scrolling quickly in one direction or the other like you see on some of the other devices. Makes it a little bit more usable. And again, a quick press and we're in mouse mode. It tells you as much. Works exactly the way you would expect. Of course, there are other keys like dedicated OK button, which kind of acts like a back button on a Windows Mobile Professional device. No D-pad, in spite of the fact that this looks like a D-pad, this ring around it, it's really just to provide a border on the optical joystick. Two soft keys here, dedicated start menu button, call send and call end buttons. The keyboard is very much like that on the Blackjack 2, which is to say it's very nice. It's probably even better because the keys have a little bit of a matte finish to them. They're a little bit flatter, well spaced out, really easy to use. It's probably one of my favorite keyboards on a device of this form factor. If you take a close look at the Today screen, you see there are a lot of interesting pieces of information on it. You know, it shows you how many messages you have waiting, quick access to wireless functions like turning Wi-Fi or Bluetooth on or off, different tabs too, so you can set up quick links to your favorite applications. Same thing for contacts, and of course there are some settings you can get to. It shows you how much battery you have left, RAM you have left, that kind of thing. It's pretty useful. But there's also a more traditional Samsung looking Today screen that we're going to give you a chance to look at. There's no lack of menus on the Saga, especially with this Today screen. There's this first button here actually calls up another dedicated menu. So you've got tabs, you've got start menus, you've got the program menus and device, and then of course you've got this new extra menu. So there's a million different ways to access your applications. And this one, of course, you can edit them, use the ones you want, just drag it out there. Works pretty well. But it's not always a good thing to have a million different ways to achieve the same results when it comes to a user interface. And here's the Samsung Today screen. It's a little more colorful, but in actuality probably not as useful as the tabbed version that we just showed you. There's no scrolling left and right like you see on the Omnia and some other devices. It's fairly basic. It's not even as good as the one that's on the Epic. So some people might like it, but in general I think the other version is going to be a little more useful for most people.